Welcome to Kindle Love Stories. It's book club time again, and this time we're talking about Autumn in the Vineyard by Marina Adair. And of course, we're at a beautiful winery, the Ross Andrew Winery, which is in Woodinville, Washington. It produces about 5,000 cases a year, and they're right in the middle of their 14th harvest. Now, their wines are crafted from some of the oldest vineyards in all of Washington state, and we're so honored to be here. So let's talk about Autumn in the Vineyard by Marina Adair. So for any of you who haven't yet read the book, let me just give you a little bit of a setup. Our heroine is named Francesca Baudouin, Frankie. Now Frankie is from the Baudouin family. This is a very old vineyard, but there's also the DeLuca family, also another old winery vineyard family. And they're like the Hatfields and McCoys. Well, wouldn't you know, what happens is Frankie's gonna fall for Nate. And these are from two different families. Frankie's a pretty tough girl, and Nate is gonna help her reach her best self and find love along the way. Let's first just talk about our girl Frankie, Francesca. What do you guys think of our girl Frankie?
You know, I liked her at the beginning, but I started loving her towards the end. I think she transformed her personality, and when she found love with Nate, and she broke down her barriers, and she really became this remarkable woman towards the end of the book compared to the beginning.
Well, I mean, for those of you who might not have read it, Frankie's a tough girl, okay? She's wearing combat boots.
Oh, yeah.
Steel-tipped. Steel-tipped, and she uses them.
And motorcycles. And she's
and you know, and she flips people the bird.
On a regular basis. I know, it's like a lot.
It's like, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, if that's your starting point, you know that there's going to be some transformation.
She's got a chip. Like, she's a little rough around the edges, but Nate, I think, is patient with her and allows her to kind of learn to trust.
We have a question from one of you out there, and I love this question, so I want to kind of kick us off with it too. This is from reader Christy, and Christy asks, you know, Frankie is awkward around children. Can you relate?
Yes, I can. I grew up, I was total tomboy, and so I remember, like, I never babysat, and then you have your first child, and everything changes. But I was definitely
hopefully for the child.
I know, for the child's sake.
I could relate to Frankie, because before I had children, children were like scary amoeba monsters. Like, you know, like what do they do? How do you do this?
Her kid was Mittens.
Let's talk about Mittens.
The alpaca, that's
what
right.
an interesting character. So you guys, we had, one of the characters in the book is an alpaca, like a llama.
Yeah, Mittens.
I defy you to find
Or
another book with a
camel or
llama
goat.
as a character. And he was such a great character because he was the recipient of Frankie's nurturing.
Yeah,
she learned to nurture.
The alpaca was so much like Frankie. The alpaca was estranged from his family.
Stubborn.
He was stubborn. He was tough. He was fighting, and Frankie was the same way. They sort of found each other, and they were a good fit together.
Yeah, and he wore steel-toed boots.
That would be great.
Okay, not really.
No, really. I loved how she would have these like full-blown conversations with him, like he understood what she was saying.
Yeah,
she just, there was a love there between the two of them.
And when she's talking about not being nurturing, that she just doesn't have that in there, someone says to her, didn't you go and take care of Mittens?
Yeah.
Isn't that you that's showing up and doing that? That is nurturing. It's
Yeah.
just not necessarily to a human, but she was getting there.
So what do you think? Have you just always naturally known that you're great with children, or was it something you kind of had to learn about yourself? Go to KindleLoveStories.com and tell us what you think. What I really enjoyed about this was that we had the Baudouin family and we have the DeLuca family, and the women of one family reach over to her from the other family. And they're the ones that are healing and bringing the two families together. You know?
Exactly right.
And the women characters in this were all very strong.
All of them.
And going back to this idea of nurturing, there's not only one kind of way to be nurturing, this book teaches, you know?
Oh, that's so true. And don't you think we all nurture in different ways, in different circumstances? And you know, women traditionally, I think we're the, you know, natural nurturers for the most part, aside from what Frankie thought about herself. She actually was a natural nurturer, just in a different way. But, you know, don't you think that for us, we nurture in different ways depending on what the circumstances are? Sometimes we need to prop each other up, and sometimes we need to give each other a hug. Sometimes we need to give each other a swift kick in the butt, you know? So, I mean, I think we've all done that with each other, too, as friends.
I think so.
I think there's a lot of strength. I think throughout this entire book, from the little girl Holly to, you know, to Frankie, to the aunts, to all the elderly in there, to everybody that they came across. The women definitely had that strength.
They did.
And it was funny because it almost seemed like the feud was more between the men in the book.
Definitely.
The old family feuds that they had.
Yeah,
and it was more the women that brought them all back together again. It was interesting.
I think that is. Let's talk though about the men.
Okay.
Let's talk.
Let's talk about one specific man. This is from Stephanie, one of our Kindle Love Stories listeners and audience members, Stephanie. And she just says, "Holy moly, what a man."
Oh, yeah.
And she's talking about Nate DeLuca, our hero. What a man, what a man, what a mighty good man.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about him, and then I want to take him home.
Yep, for sure. We all need a little bit of Nate in our life.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
Nate is hunky. He's very good at lovemaking.
And
kissing, and he's very.
The lake scene.
Nate
nice.
is like nurturing. Nate is supportive. Nate is kind. He is thoughtful. He is
super thoughtful
and sexy.
Yeah.
And he did so many of these nice gestures without anyone knowing about it.
Right.
Which I think means so much more than just somebody who does it in front of someone to impress them.
Yeah, look
he did
at
it
me.
behind Frankie's back. He was trying to do the right thing and be a good person.
Yes.
Behind her back and not even telling her. I love Nate.
I love
Yeah.
him.
He was a great character.
It's
kind of funny
They're so
because
well written.
he tamed Frankie, and in some ways Frankie tamed him in a different way.
point.
You know, he was kind of the playboy, gorgeous guy who was dating this girl and that girl, and really all along, ever since he was 17, he really was in love with her.
Frankie. She transformed him from loafers to boots. And I thought that was such a nice.
Yeah.
I was like, she roughed him up a little bit, you know.
She did.
And
Yeah,
he
exactly.
needed
Took
it.
his
It's
loafers
like,
off.
She was woman enough to like make him settle down. I think it was just that was a beautiful relationship. I loved like the tension between them. It was so well written because it was just tense and then passionate, and it was. You saw it coming, but it was so
We were
well
waiting
done.
and waiting for that
so
to
well
come.
done.
Yeah.
I was like, let's get on with it.
Yeah, I know.
The thing I thought, you know, one thing I thought was really interesting and good about this book is they say that when there is a sex scene or physicality in a romance, it's there to actually push the story along, that it's integral to the story.
Yeah.
It's not gratuitous. And I would say in this book, it had some very hot scenes. They were not gratuitous.
No.
They were important to showing how this couple found each other, and she learned to trust and learn to open up, because one of the things Frankie did was she used sex to push men away when she felt that the emotions were getting too close.
Yes, too intimate.
Well, don't you think though that there are people who use physicality of one way or another to try to distance
As a
from
shield.
real
For sure.
intimacy?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I definitely think
Because
that's
real
true.
intimacy is when it gets scary.
So what do you think about Nate? And what do you think makes like the perfect guy? Is he like Nate? Is he someone that you kind of want to pull out and bring a little bit of fire to? Or is he someone that tames you? We have another question from a Kindle Love Stories audience member. And by the way, as I've mentioned, you are what makes the book club great. Your questions, your topics of discussion, so keep them coming. And thank you so much. Our question this time is from Kindle Love Stories listener and watcher, Tina. And Tina says, so ladies, and I think we're about to answer the question for her visually. So ladies, what do you think about all the wine in this book, and are you going to drink some wine for book club?
Yeah.
Cheers to you, Tina! Tina! Cheers! Cheers! Yes, we are, Tina. All right, so let's answer Tina's question, though. We are, of course, at a beautiful winery, the Ross Andrew Winery. Thank you for having us. And I'm telling you, the wine in this book was another character.
Yes.
The way these people absolutely lived for their wine.
I know. I never had any idea or any clue how intensive that the wine industry is.
Right.
And how, I mean, the harvesting and the years and the
hard labor
and the
and-
development
yeah.
and the creation
And
and,
getting
the
their
science
grapes.
versus the, you know, the passion of it.
What do you all think? I mean, do you really love your wine? Could you relate in this book to how this wine was so much more than something you drink? This was a labor of love and
Yes.
of artistry for these people.
Yes.
Didn't it make you want to go live in this town
Oh,
and
yeah.
be a part of these
Yes.
festivals and this ritual? I mean,
Yeah.
anytime people are passionate about something to this degree, and we got to go into this world in this wonderful book, it makes you want to enter that world.
The amount of work and time and precision that you would have to put into that to get that just the right taste of wine. And it's just fascinating.
Do you know what I really liked? One of my favorite things about the book was that our girl Frankie, she's going to enter a contest to try to have her wine be, you know, the belle of the ball, the winner of this big contest. Well, she's actually competing against Nate, her love interest, and his family.
Yeah.
Well, Nate's brothers are all up in arms. They're like, if she wins this is going to be horrible for us. And Nate says, no, it won't. It won't be horrible for us. And it's not just her love, his love for her that made him say that. It was that he wanted the best wine to win.
Right.
Yes.
Fair is fair.
And he has the best line, like at the end of all of that, when he says, "It's your day. This is all going to be you." And she says, "Why do you think so?" And he says, "Because your wine is you in a bottle." How could it not?
It was so
good. It was so good. You read that and just went,
Your wine is you in a
it's
bottle.
you in a bottle. How could it not win? It was just perfect.
That is true love. Love. I want to talk about love. This book had some great lines in it. First of all, it's funny, everybody. It's funny. This writer, Marina Adair, is a hoot and a holler, as they say. And one of the things that she writes really well about is love, unconditional love in this book. Did you guys grab onto that theme as well? And what about you out there? Unconditional love. Did you get that from this book? I sure did. Go to kindlelovestories.com and let us know what you think. So let's talk and wrap up about Autumn in the Vineyard by Marina Adair. What did you think? Would you recommend the book?
I would absolutely recommend the book. I thought that it just had passion and love and all sorts of good stuff in it. Nate was hot, and I liked Frankie's complicated personality and learning about the winery. So
I agree. There's a lot of great characters in the book, and I love the transformation of the characters.
Yes.
You know, the love story that was, you know, that kind of came together, and how Frankie was such a tough person, but she really learned about love and unconditional love throughout the book, and how she became a better, stronger person at the end.
Yeah, I would totally recommend this book. I love this book. And part of what I loved about it was a quick read. It was like one of those books that you pick up and it just engulfs you in the story. It was funny, it was light, it had great themes, and it taught you a lot about love and wine.
And wine.
I loved it.
I loved the romance in this book because it had a certain steaminess level, but it was all integral to the characters and their relationship. And that's what I like about a really good love story. I don't want there to be gratuitous scenes, but I want there to be enough so that I feel the connection between the characters.
Yeah.
I feel like the thing that touched me the most was be brave enough to let someone in. For me, that's what melted me about this book, is how she started so tough, and it was her journey to letting her guard down and letting Nate in.
Totally
So
true. Totally true.
that's what really touched me about this book. What touched you about the book? Go to kindlelovestories.com and let us know what you think about Autumn in the Vineyard by Marina Adair. Well, thank you, ladies, and thank you to all of you out there for another fabulous book club. It's, as always, been a joy, and I love you all, and we love you out there, so thank you for all of your questions and topics of discussion, and thank you for watching. And thank you so much to Ross Andrew Winery for having us at this fabulous winery and for this amazing wine. Cheers. Thank you. Cheers.